Solve the following triangle. We have side A equals 6, side C equals 5, and angle B equals 50 degrees. All right, so the first thing we want to do here then is, just draw out this triangle, right? We want to draw it out, label what we know. That way we can see what type of triangle this is going to be. Okay, so we know that side A equals 6, so that's the side opposite the angle A. Side C is 5, so that is the side opposite angle C. And angle B here is 50 degrees. Okay. Notice what type of triangle we have here. This is called an SAS triangle. Right? The reason why it's called an SAS triangle is because we have two sides and the angle that's in between them. Right? Two sides and the angle that's in between them. So whenever we have an SAS triangle, we have to use the law of cosines here, okay, in order to solve. All right, so remember there's three different versions for the law of cosines. They're all the same, just based on how we label this or what information is given. But in this case, right, we want to solve for side B first, right? So B squared is going to equal A squared plus C squared minus 2 times A times C times the cosine of B. Okay? You notice that we know side A, we know side C, and we know angle B. So we're going to be solving for the side B. All right, let's just go ahead and just plug in the given information, right? B squared is equal to 5 squared plus 6 squared. I switched that around, but that's okay, right? Minus 2 times 5 times 6 times the cosine of 50 degrees. Notice that we actually know all of these values, right? So once again, we should be able to do this using our calculators. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36, so add those together to get 61. Right here, 2 times 5 times 6 is 60, times the cosine of 50 degrees. Okay? So I'm going to work this all out in my calculator. And make sure you do this step by step. Do not round. Okay? But we get b squared is equal to about 22.432 and something else after that. And then just take the square root. Right? So b is going to be the square root of that guy. And the answer I will round. Okay, so I will round the answer. I get 4.7. Okay, so there we go. This side here, right? Now we know this side, which is 4.7. Okay. All right, so that's good. We know three sides. I still need to find these other angles. Now you could use the law of sines. The thing with the law of sines, though, is that we always get two possibilities. Okay. So you can sort of figure out that you don't want to use the obtuse angle, right? Okay, the angle that's greater than 90 degrees, but we just don't know. So it may be easier just to use the law of cosines again. Okay, so let's try to find angle C first, right? So if we want to find angle C, then we'll use the other one, right? C squared, which is equal to A squared plus B squared minus 2 times A times B times the cosine of C. And now you got to notice in this case, we know the three sides. Okay? What we're trying to find is angle C here. Okay, so let's plug in what we know. We got 5 squared is equal to 6 squared. Right? B is what we just found, which is 4.7 squared. Minus 2 times 6 times 4.7 times the cosine of C. Okay, so what we want to do is we just want to work on the algebra here and isolate the cosine of C. Okay, so 5 squared is 25. This is going to be 36. 4.7 squared is about 22 point something or other. So we get 58.09 for this guy here. Okay, and then 2 times 6 times 4.7 gives us about 56.4 cosine of C. Okay. Now actually I did do this all on my calculator. So I didn't round these intermediate steps. I'm just rounding it just for the purposes of writing it down here, okay? So when we do that, 25, we're going to subtract the 58.09 to both sides, okay? So we get negative 33.09 equals negative 56.4 times the cosine of C. So the cosine of C, once we divide this over to the other side, it equals approximately 0.5865, okay? Now, once again, I did not round these when I actually did the calculations. Okay, I just rounded it just for the purposes of writing it down on this example. Okay, so when you're doing these on your calculators, do not round each intermediate step. So C is going to be the cosine inverse of this number here. And once we do that, we should get angle C, which is about 54.1 degrees. That one I will round to the nearest tenth, right? So C, we get 54.1 degrees. And then A, we can get that just by subtracting the sum from 180, right? So 180 minus 50 minus 54.1 gives us 75.9 degrees. All right, now just a little note here. Okay, it is possible that it is possible that you may get some type of rounding error, right? Okay, so if you use the law of sines, we get slightly different numbers. I believe you get like 54.5 or something like that. Okay, and that's just because we rounded this number, this 4.7. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, for all intents and purposes, as long as you're able to do the work, right, use your calculators to get these values, then you'll be fine.